Okay, if you missed class on Monday, February 22nd, here is what we worked on. So, the farewell demands in our daily agenda. So, here's our learning intentions and our success criteria. Today, I'm learning to cite relevant evidence from the text to support your analysis of a text. And you will know you're successful when you can identify lines from the text that explicitly describe key details from the text. Now, we got a couple things that we're going to hit today. I'm going to talk about the summative that is going to be coming at the end of the unit so you know what's coming down the pipe at you. I'm going to review the graphic organizer, and I'm going to model chapter 1 for you. So, at the end of unit 4, you're going to have to write an informational essay. This essay is going to be about 4 paragraphs. Now, we will work through each section of it as we work through the unit, so you will have everything you need by the time we get to the end of the unit just to put it together. Now, your first paragraph will be your introduction. We are reading 2 books. We're reading Farewell to Manzanar, and we're reading a selection out of Anne Frank's diary. Now, your informational essay is going to be over the ideas of racism, stereotypes, and persecution. Now, you will give me an example out of Farewell to Manzanar, an example out of Anne Frank's diary, so that'd be paragraphs 2 and 3, and then you'll give me a personal narrative example. So tell a story where you've seen racism or stereotypes, or you've been affected by them, and that will get you your 4th paragraph. So, like I said, this won't be anything difficult to do by the end of class. It will require that you come to class every day and do the work, though. I will get you a rubric for this. I will write a sample essay and let you all grade it using the rubric. That way, you have an idea of how the rubric works and what you have to do to score well. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to review the graphic organizer we're going to use while reading Farewell to Manzanar. So, if you come down, give it a second. There we are. If you come down to Farewell to Manzanar Student Graphic Organizer, click this. Click the red text. It is going to bring up your graphic organizer that you will be using. It's going to look just like this. There's going to be one row for every chapter. So chapter 1 all the way down through chapter 22. Now, in each row, you have a column for setting, characters, plot events, examples of racism, stereotypes, or persecution, and important dialogue and quotes. So setting, this is the when and where something takes place. Characters, we're talking about who are the main characters that the chapter is talking about. Plot events, these are the things that move the story forward. So it's like, think of it like going up a flight of stairs. You start on the first step, that's your first plot event. Then the next important thing would be your second plot event, and that would be your second step. The next important thing would be the third plot event, third step, and so on. Now, for examples of racism, stereotypes, and persecution, you'll have to really kind of make inferences and put a bunch of stuff together in a chapter to figure out how are they showing racism, or how are they showing stereotypes, or how are they showing people being persecuted. Now, important dialogue and quotes. I want to make sure that we're on the same page for what is a dialogue and what is quotes. Dialogue is whenever somebody speaks, and you will find dialogue with a tag in front of it like he said, she said, they yelled, and then in quotation marks, you will have what they said, yelled, or however they spoke. Now, a quote is just information you pull out of the text to support your examples and to support your ideas. A lot of times, quotes do not have it, there are no quotation marks around them. So, quotes tend to be the details that the author puts into a story or into an article to let us know what is going on action wise. Now, it'll make a little bit more sense here in a second when I show you how to fill this first section out. So, in order to be ready for class tomorrow, you need to have read chapter 1 because we'll be starting in chapter 2. So, here's what the notes look like for chapter 1. And I did this for everybody. So, in chapter 1, we learned that the setting is December 1941 at Long Beach, California, on Terminal Island. We see this on pages 1 and 2. Now, the characters who are important, we find out on pages 1 and 2 that we have Mama, Papa, Bill, Woody, Bill's wife, Woody's wife Chizu, and the author. Because remember, this is a personal memoir, so the author is the person who is writing the story, and they are part of the story. Now, major plot events. So remember, think of these as steps, like stepping stones. You step from one to the next, and they move in order. So you start at the beginning of a chapter and you hit each major event through the chapter. So the first major event really was the fact that we see Papa, Bill, and Woody getting ready to go out fishing. So they go fishing, they get out, they get turned around. Being turned around and sent back is your second major plot event. Now, that's your second one because had they not gone fishing, they wouldn't have been able to be turned around. So they went fishing. So what happened? They got turned around. Why did they get turned around? Well, a man comes running down the wharf shouting about Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. And then what does that lead to that's important? It leads to Papa getting picked up by the FBI and taken away. Now, if you reread page 5, you can kind of get the feel for a bit of racism and persecution taking place here. Because when the FBI comes to pick up people, they are only looking for Japanese people who were living on American soil who had commercial fishing licenses. So it's not like they're looking for any other type of people, any other race of people. They are specifically looking for Japanese. So it's a bit of racism because Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor, they're out rounding up every Japanese person they can think of or find who has a fishing license. So the racism in this section and the persecution is Papa and other men being picked up by the FBI because they were Japanese living on American soil. Now, important quotes and dialogue. So I have a piece of important dialogue here. Mama yelled, "What is Pearl Harbor?" That's important because if you think back to the title of chapter 1, the title is What is Pearl Harbor? And we get the title out given to us here again in dialogue. So there's something important about it. And then a quote that I can pull out, like I said, the quotes are just extra information about actions and stuff going on in the story that help to support my other stuff. The quote, "A fellow from the cannery came running down the wharf shouting that the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor." This quote supports why Papa and the other men were being picked up by the FBI. So the next thing is, after every chapter, you're going to have an exit slip. So every day you'll have 1 or 2 exit slips you have to do. So if you go to Farewell to Manzanar exit slips, you will see your class, pick your class period, copy it, open it up, and put in your code. So you're going to have Farewell to Manzanar summary sentences. So for each chapter, you're going to have to write a summary sentence that sums up that chapter. Now, if you paid attention to the columns for each chapter, your setting, that's your when and where. Characters are your who, plot is what or how, and the examples of racism, stereotypes, and important dialogue and quotes, that's your why. So you have your where, when, who, what, how, why. All the important things it takes to write a summary sentence. Now, I wrote the one for chapter 1 for you all. I want you to notice that I don't use every one of those things that I wrote down for chapter 1. I didn't use the setting at all. I only used 3 of the characters, Papa, Billy, and Woody. And then I use a couple of the plot events. They were set to go fishing. They got turned around. And then why did they get turned around? Because of the attack on Pearl Harbor. And what happened because of that? Papa was taken away by the FBI. So I used 3 characters, 2 events, 3 events here, and I used the why stuff out of here to make it make sense. So you will do that for each chapter. It is set to student paced on the Pear Deck, so you'll be able to move back and forth. Now, we will be starting chapter 2 in class tomorrow. We'll be doing it as a group. We'll do chapters 2 and 3 as a group. And then from chapter 4 on, it is going to be your responsibility to be doing this chart and to be doing the summary sentence. You will turn in this graphic organizer 3 times over the course of this book for 10 points each time for a total of 30 points. All right, if you have any questions, please get up with me. Either come to office hours or email me, and I will do my best to answer them for you. Have a good one.